Welcome back to the studio. I'm Eric C. Jackson. Today we're going to go into how you kind of grade your work. For me, it's with photography projects, and I choose my favorites, obviously, but then there are some that are kind of I'm on the fence about, and sometimes I include those, and then sometimes I don't. But I think everyone goes through their own process of how they select the work that they want to get out there. And I think, especially when you're first starting out, it's important to gauge how the audience is going to react to your work. So for me, the best thing that I started doing was posting my work on Pinterest, because the more engagement you get on a particular artwork, then the more impressions you get. And that always gave me a good idea, or it was a good indicator of how people were responding to my work. And there's some surprises for me, because sometimes I'll have a favorite piece, and then one that's kind of I'm on the fence about, but I include it anyway. And sometimes the one that I don't expect ends up doing pretty well. So let me bring up, let's see, I'm going to switch my camera here. Okay. All right, so this is my website. Let me move this screen out of the way. Hold on. Okay. So we're going to go back to the beginning. This is my first series where I start my collection, really. And these are, I think there's 11 that I have. And I have my favorites. I think this one here, this is my favorite one. But like I said, how people respond to your work, they won't always, their favorites are not going to be yours, or vice versa. So for me, I want to focus today on Revive, because this particular one it wasn't my favorite. And I was on the fence about including it, but there was enough in it that I felt it did belong in the series. But again, it's going back to how will people respond, right? So let's go on over to Pinterest. And these are, I think there's 11 in the series. And so what I'm looking at, let's see if I can expand this. I'm looking at these numbers. So this is the impressions. This is how many times someone has saved the pin. And then these are how many times they actually clicked on the image to visit the website. So I posted these some months ago. And as you can see, the numbers aren't really sticking out. Like this has 36, this has 69 impressions, 28, 5. And then you come to English, it has 677 for this one. 2 saves, and then 12 times someone clicked on it to go to the site. But then this is 3 impressions, no saves, no clicks on it. So how the Pinterest algorithm works is it goes off of engagement. The more engagement a particular pin gets, the more the algorithm is going to push it out there to the home feed and share it with other people browsing through Pinterest. And so to this point, I've been getting my engagement organically without, buying ads or promoting them. So these are all my organic numbers. Like this one has 16, no saves, no clicks. But the one that really surprised me is this one, the one that I was actually on the fence about. It's got over 10,000 impressions, 16 saves, and 389 times someone has clicked on it to go to the website. So your website's going to read this as a referral, coming from Pinterest. So when you go to the website and you look at your statistics and where your referrals are coming from, then I would see that this image is bringing in quite a bit of traffic, especially compared to everything else. So again, it's kind of weird, like you go from 0 saves, no clicks to 16 saves and 389 clicks to go to the website. I mean, and then I'm thinking, like, why is this one, which wasn't really one of my favorites, and I was actually questioning about whether to include it. Well, like, why is this one getting so much attention? And the simple answer is, I don't know. I really don't know. But obviously, the way the algorithm also works is it'll pair your image next to other images that look similar to it in style. So that's why you get these other images here. Because none of this stuff here is my work. It's just whatever Pinterest has. So I guess the algorithm reads your work as far as the look of it, and then it just decides on its own what it's going to pair it with. But yeah, that's a lot of impressions, a lot of pin clicks, a lot of saves. And then down here, I do have a short description. So yeah, it just surprised me. And then if they want to visit the site, there's the button there that they click on. And that'll take them directly to the actual image on the website. So again, I don't know. I don't know what draws people in. I do have 5 hearts over here, and I believe someone left me a comment. But yeah, I mean, I think that, let's see if I can get back to where I was. Oh, here we go. Okay, so my overall views are a little bit over 19,000 now. So that's come down quite a bit from a couple of months ago. but it's still giving me the most engagement in terms of all the social media platforms that I'm on. This is still the best by far. And here's all of my categories or boards that I have. So anything and everything that has to do with the Dark Light series is in here. But as you look over everything, it just, like, why does this one stand out? If I can get it to show up again. Like, why does it stand out? And what I was really trying to do with this series in particular, and I don't think it's something that I've duplicated since then, but I was trying to find or kind of nail down my identity. And this is a Christian series, so you read the introduction up here. It just explains my relationship with God and how I had questions, uncertainties, that type of thing. But it was more of, how do I express my faith? And so this series really walks through different emotions and reactions that I have. And this one in particular, it's in a weird place because the series is really dark. And when I first created this back in 2009 and tried to promote it, a lot of the reactions from other like managers and people who were more in the religious brand or religious category, they were looking at the series as it was too dark. But I felt like I didn't want to create something that was copying other people's styles, those who are all also creating Christian work. So for me, I just decided to embrace that part of it, that my work was really dark. And then the single light source in it is really representing God. And then the space that's void, like just empty space, that also represents God. So it's me personally being in a dark place in my life and trying to find light. It can be hope or joy or peace, but trying to find that, and then having these doubts of whether I could or not. And then I was also struggling with guilt and shame and embarrassment from things that I had done wrong. And I was really searching for redemption. And at the time, I didn't know how to explain it the way that I'm explaining it to you today. But I think I knew how to create visuals of what I was feeling. And so that's what I did with this series, is create a lot of visuals of how I was feeling, and then I would come up with the explanations later. But with this one, Revive in particular, it's really probably the most hopeful of the group of emotions that I'm showing here, because I'm kind of reaching out and realizing that the light, or that God, is there, even in that dark place where I was. And I started to feel that redemption, you know. So because these are my feelings, it was important for me to actually be in the series and photograph myself. I do have, because I used to wear a cross a lot, which I just don't wear crosses anymore because I just don't feel the need to. But with this particular series back in 2009, I wore, and for this series, I wore a cross. And in this piece, you can barely see it, but it's there. And so that just helps describe where I was with my relationship with God. It was like I was there, but I wasn't there. You know, so it's just this weird in between and trying to find my way. I don't even know if it's find my way back to God or is it more discovering who God is and trying to explain that in the work. So I really wanted something that was dark. And then as far as the style, and I probably shared this before, was I think back in 96? Anyway, it was the artist Seal had his first album, and he had like this all white background, but then he had a silhouette, like this black silhouette of his body. And he was like posing on it. But again, like the figure was black, and then the entire background was just plain white. And so when I approached doing this series, I decided to do the inverse in a way where I was gonna shine light on me as the figure, but then the background was gonna be completely black. And so that's how I approached the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, and then I use a single strobe light umbrella, and it just made it the lighting that sharp, you know, and like more impactful. Now, if you go with natural light, I would say the lighting wouldn't be as strong. The contrast wouldn't be so high. It's more of a soft gradient if you use natural light, even if you, especially if you diffuse it. So with the strobe, I was able to get lighting that was really impactful. I like it because it just makes a statement, and it says a lot without really saying much, without saying anything at all. And so obviously I know that everyone who sees the work is not going to be a Christian or not going to be interested in faith, but I wanted the work overall to be really approachable. So I tried to style the series in general, in a way that even if you don't agree with the message, that you would still appreciate the work. And so the entire series is like that. But yeah, this one has grown on me simply because of how people have reacted to it. And even after I kind of scrubbed my Pinterest account and started everything over again a few months ago, this one was popular before I scrubbed the account. And then when I re-uploaded everything and linked everything to the new website, it's jumping back up to the top again. because, people are still responding the same to it. And the thing that's really satisfying for me is that this series is really old because we're in 2025 now. So come August, this is going to be 16 years old, and people are still seeing it maybe for the first time and responding positively towards it. So I'm really grateful for that. I really am. And then I came on here. I saw a pin, but I don't see it anymore. Someone left a comment, and now I don't see the comment anymore. But yeah, it was here earlier. I don't see it anymore. But yeah, you guys can tell me what you think, about it, and why you think that it's jumped up this high. Because yeah, it's rare. Like I said, all of them don't attract attention, and this is just far and away the most viewed image. And as far as composition, I thought about squaring it up, but I just wanted that more negative space at the top. Because again, that negative space represents God. If you go back to the original, there's not a lot of negative space at all. But I added some more space around the image just to give it more breathing room, It's especially back then, like I was capturing self-portraits, you have to visualize what you're going to see behind the lens while you're in front of it. So it's tricky, but over the years I've gotten used to it because I've taken so many self-portraits. But you just have to see or anticipate what you're going to see the best you can. And then once you start capturing some photos, look at what you have so far and see what you need to tweak or improve on in terms of composition, creating that composition. But ultimately, like I said, I ended up adding more space on this one. I just think that makes it more impactful. And the other thing is, when you're creating a series, is that you have to make sure that each piece is an individual, but it also fits within the series. Like, they look similar, but everything doesn't look the same. So as you go through everything, that's really what you see, is they all look different, but not the same. And I think this one I ended up as one of the final pieces. So yeah, I'm just surprised. But again, I just would say share the work, especially if you're new at this, as much as you can, and see what people react to. And once you find what really connects with viewers, then you can make another series or another few series off of that. But I wouldn't say stay there. Always try something new, because it's just this continuation of figuring out what connects with people. Now, some of your favorite pieces may not connect with people at all. And that's okay. Everything's not going to be the most popular thing, but if like really when you start entering your work into competitions, then that's when I would say lean a little bit more towards what people respond to the most in terms of what you're going to enter into competitions or competitions. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites. I'm hoping to I would have to get a studio space so that I can actually use strobes. Whether it's buying strobes or renting them out, because they use a lot of power. They use a lot of electricity, and you can blow your fuses pretty easily if you have a strong enough or high wattage battery pack and you're using strobes. So yeah, while I'm in this room, I use the continuous lights, and they work fine. But if you want something that is really sharp, high contrast lighting, the strobes are really good, and they help you keep your ISO around 100, but you still get good exposure in the shot, because normally if you want your ISO at 100 and you're working with continuous lights, you're definitely going to have to add more light or use a higher wattage bulb, light bulbs, so that you can keep your ISO at 100 and still have good exposure. But yeah, that's one of my favorites. So I guess my last point would be, even if there's a piece that you're not sure about adding or including in your series, just put it out there, share it with the world and see how they respond to it. And it may turn out to be one of their favorite pieces, even if it's not one of your favorites. But yeah, that's all I have for right now. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.